Hello and what is up YouTube? It is I, G3Iron, your balding bearded buddy, back to talk some Settlers of Kalguur, and I am here today to talk about a pre-league checklist because I know that there are literally tens of thousands of you who have left me comments over the last almost decade plus of playing Path of Exile and chatting about it, who have said, I am not playing Path of Exile until there's an auction house or a currency exchange, something that we can use to make it so that way we don't have to use the trade website to trade out currency. And we have that now. So I know there's thousands of you, tens of thousands of you, who are coming back to Path of Exile for 325 Settlers of Kalguur, and you will have forgotten a billion things. So let's do a pre-league checklist and hopefully set you up for later on for the launch all this weekend to just have a great time because you are thoroughly prepared for all that is coming with Settlers of Kalguur. If you are new to the channel or you've hated me for years, then you can of course like, subscribe, and smash that button to join. That's right, you can either support us over on Patreon or you can support us right here on YouTube, whichever way you prefer, or you can just drop me a comment about how many follicles you've counted on my balding forehead and make fun of me throughout all my videos. Either way works by me. So the whole goal of our conversation today is to help you aim well. If you do not know what you are aiming at, then that will greatly increase your percent chance of frustration throughout the 325 Settlers of Kalguur League. Yes, that is a more multiplier. It is not simply an increase. You will have massive amounts of frustration if you go into the league and you got no idea what you are aiming at. So the thesis of today is know what you're aiming at, all right? If you know what you're aiming at with your build, with your economics, with what you're even measuring as being a fun and successful time playing Path of Exile, if you know what you're aiming at, chances are your frustration levels will be lower, your chill levels will be higher, and your fun levels will be through the roof because this is indeed promising to be one of the best league expansions ever, if not just straight up the most hype, the best league expansion that we have ever seen come to Path of Exile. The number one reason why people stop playing a league that ends up being a good league is not because of bugs. It is not because, oh, there was overtuning of monsters. It was not because, oh, I didn't have a Mirror of Calandra drop over the opening weekend. The number one reason why players quit Path of Exile is because they stop having fun with the character that they are playing. So, what you need to do to resolve that potential frustrating reality is to simply be confident about the pick that you have made for your league starter. There are presently tons of builds out there that are going to be viable on League Start, whether we're talking melee rework, whether we're talking spellcasters, which are still going to be awesome. By the way, I think there's going to be a lot more spellcasters that actually turn out being more meta than we would think of, just because everybody's excited about melee and hype right now for that. There's also a ton of builds that are not minion per se, but are minion adjacent kind of builds, like Holy Relic, like Poison SRS, which is technically a minion build. Yes, blah, 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 but it's not like Zoomancer minion build. Anyway, pick your league starter. There's like a gazillion of them that are out there. Poison-based builds, hit-based builds, dot-based builds, cold-based builds, elemental-based builds, ailment-based builds, hit-based builds, dot-based builds, builds that stack life to like the infinity because they're going to farm for combs and they just want to go AFK while they're playing Righteous Fire, or builds that are like smashing a piano more so than Pathfinder ever wished it could because you're going to have like 16 different war cries on your hotbar. Like there's a million different builds that are going to be viable even as league starters. So with that being said, rather than, getting into that, I don't know, deer in the headlights sort of thing, freaking out, pick one build that you know is going to be a solid build for you to play. If you pick that one build as your league starter that you know is solid, that will give you a bank to pivot to if you're playing trade, or it will give you access to items if you're playing solo self-found that you can then use for other builds you want to use and play out and fill out later on in the rest of the league. So pick your starter first as a solid, confident pick that you know how to level with, that you know how to play with in the first 2 to 3x. I was reading somebody who had a question the other day, and it was so sad to see them say that they were not looking forward to the first 2 or 3 acts. They always feel like giving up, and honestly that the first 2 to 3 acts of the game are the hardest for them, and most oftentimes they will quit rather than continue playing the game just because of the first 2 to 3 acts. All right, the first 2 to 3 acts are the most repeatable thing in all of your Path of Exile experience. Like, it's the most predictable thing, right? You know the gem levels and the gem items that you are going to have available due to certain quest rewards with certain particular classes that you pick. Like, you know how to control all that. You know how to control when you get certain rewards, which paths you're going to take at certain points. You know the boss and the encounter and the zones that you're going to be running through. Like, it is the single most repeated experience that you can have in Path of Exile. So, like, get good at that. Right? Get good at that. Don't kill yourself like trying to become a racer at it, but recognize that every time you play Path of Exile, you're going to have to get through the first 3 acts, and your build is probably in the first 3 acts not going to be the same as what it's going to be when you're blasting through tier 16s or when you're low level farming like tier 3 maps, right? Your build doesn't look the same. Get used to that. That's a part of the game. Don't freak out about it. Don't be overwhelmed by it to the sense where you want to give up on the game, unless, of course, you're genuinely not having fun, in which case don't let me or anybody else tell you what to do. But if you're having any inkling that you're going to have fun with this game, get excited and get ready to get good at pushing through those first 3 acts and have a plan for how you're going to get through those first 3 acts. There's tons of different build guides out there that speak specifically to how to level your character just through the first 3 acts alone. And oftentimes the best path of buildings and the best build guides will not only tell you what you are end game looking for, but also what you are looking to do as you are first starting up and booting up your character to be able to get to where you want to go. So make sure you've got a plan for those first 3 acts to get you to where you want your character to go. For me, I am definitely going to be playing SRS as I'm going through and progressing on a witch that will then eventually become a holy relic Nova blasting just out of this world. It feels like a wander. It doesn't feel like a minion build, but it's out of this world in terms of damage. And I played the heck out of it in Necropolis. I plan to play the heck out of it and try and reach some new breakpoints even now in this upcoming league. And then I'll probably pivot off into like some Spectre Marionette nonsense before I pivot onto other character classes to begin with. But that, for me, that gives me a very clear path for me to go. And hopefully that's an example for you. I know exactly how to go through the first 3 acts. I know what it'll look like in order to build up my bank, in order to build up my items, to then be able to go off and pivot and do silly and fun things in the future. Be confident about your league starter. If you are not confident about your league starter, that will have a direct proportional effect onto your fun throughout the rest of the entirety of the league. Next up, Atlas strategy. Do you know what you want to do with all of those juicy, wonderful, beautiful passive points that allow you to shape content just the way you want on your Atlas tree? This, I realized during Necropolis at some point, maybe like a week or 2 into Necropolis, I realized, and I made a video discussing it, like, Atlas passive trees are nowadays what character builds used to be like 6 or 7 years ago. Like, people will put out whole long form discussion videos on how to progress your Atlas tree and what content to farm and how to farm it and which maps line up best with which content. It's a whole game unto itself. Like, talk about layers of complexity. Atlas strategy is a thing unto itself. You don't need to have all of your details worked out about your Atlas strategy on the opening weekend, because for a lot of us, especially those of us who are dad gamers, we're not going to be getting necessarily to the end game versions of our Atlas even over the first week. But what we need to do is we need to make sure that we've got some level, some concept of what we are aiming for, what we are strategizing towards, what content we want to tackle and we want to engage with, and what content we absolutely do not want to tackle and engage with. One of the most nice things about the entirety of the Atlas is it's very early on, within like 5 passive points, within 5 map completions. Like, you just got all your white maps done. You can already be spending points to say, nope, I never want to interact with this league mechanic. Nope, I never want to see it. Nope, I never want to be bothered by it. Nope, I never want to be tempted to click on it. Like, that is such a huge high quality of life for choosing content. You're not going to very early on in your Atlas tree be able to say, I want to be able to pinpoint and maximize this specific style of content early on in my Atlas tree. But what you can do is you can say, here's stuff that I don't want to interact with. So take advantage of that. Make sure that you know the stuff, the content, the style of gameplay that you don't want to play, that your build doesn't excel at, and you don't think is fun. Make sure you X that out really early on, so that way you're not having a bad time and you're spending more time having a good time. Next up, make sure you have a goal for the league. This is not just having a goal for your character. Oh, I'd like to reach level such and such. No, This is not just having a goal for, a particular build. Well, I'd like to reach this threshold of this other person's POB. No, you need to have a goal for the league. Maybe your goal for the league is to have a character reach a certain threshold. That's great. If that's your entire league goal, that's great. Make that as your league goal, but don't just make it a goal for your character. Make it a goal for your league. That will help you as you come back into Path of Exile or just dive into another league afresh. It will help you have a fresh perspective on what is a success for you in the time and the investment that you've put into a character and the time and investment that you've put into playing a particular league. Maybe that goal is a build-related goal. Maybe it's an item-related goal. Maybe you've never farmed a Mage Blood. Maybe you've farmed 1,000,000 Mage Bloods, but you've never farmed a mirror. Maybe you've farmed a mirror, but you've never farmed 10 of them. Like, what level of content do you want to pursue or tackle? I was hearing a very, very popular streamer the other day who was saying they didn't take on certain levels of endgame bosses, and so that is just their goal. They just want to reach some endgame bosses this particular league. They don't care about their build, don't care about their economics. They just want to take on X, Y, or Z boss. That's awesome. That gives that player a target to aim for the entirety of the league, and it allows them to have something that's hopefully a little bit pushing the boundaries of what's achievable, but then when they actually do achieve it, that's going to be a really, really awesome moment, a memorable gaming moment for them to be able to say, hey, 325 Settlers of Kalguur, that was when I first took down such and such. I don't know, maybe that was the first time you actually completed Act 1. Who knows? My point is that by setting a goal for the league, it actually allows you to have some measurable, tangible feedback loop that you can discuss with yourself and with others about whether or not you had fun in a league. One of the most frustrating things for players across the board is not being able to identify and pinpoint and accurately state why they did or did not have fun. Like, not being able to identify that and describe that means that you're just constantly hunting and you're really just taking a shotgun approach to your own video gaming enjoyment, and you can't identify, like, what do I actually enjoy? Why do I actually play this? What is it that I'm missing? Why is it that all the games that everybody seems to be recommending suck? Like, why am I in that spot? Why can't I find something that I enjoy? Well, being able to measure whether or not you're having fun playing Path of Exile, in particular this league, and having goals set up that allow you to evaluate that level of progress towards the fun that you are aiming for really allows you to have good, positive, healthy discussions with yourself. You need to have an economy strategy. If you do not have an economy strategy before you walk into the league start weekend, then be prepared to not necessarily have very much of an economic engine. Do you know what levels of content and what styles of content your build at particular breakpoints and thresholds can actually take on? Like, for instance, if you're going to league start and you're going, hey, Blight is the way to go because Blight gives you towers and Blight basically gives you all of the materials to be able to get you a whole bunch of currency levels started regardless of your build, because literally the maps themselves give you materials and resources to build towers that can kill monsters. If you're going, okay, I'm going Blight, all right, well, at what point in time can you go from white Blight maps to yellow Blight maps to red Blight maps to ravaged Blight maps? Like, do you have any concept of that? Do you have an economy strategy that says, I'm going Blight and I know how I'm going to progress my particular build to be able to take on and take down these particular thresholds to be producing this level of economic income? Maybe you're going to be trying to play all the new stuff that's around the new league and generating currency around the new league stuff. That's okay as well. You're going to hear so many people out there who are going to say, don't mess around with the new league mechanic. Don't play around with it. It's just a waste of time until you get to end game. It's just a waste of time until you get to maps. It is 100% okay for you to play with a league mechanic as long as you're having fun and it's a part of you in the long run having fun, okay? So if, for instance, you are able, like some people I know who watch this channel on a regular basis, are able to play around with a league mechanic and you can figure out how to do that thing that we quote in the POE community, which is abuse early and often new mechanics. Maybe you can be a person to figure out some aspect of a new league mechanic before anybody else can, or you can figure out a ratio of a particular mechanic or of a particular trade or of a particular avenue of resource generation that nobody else is able to figure out. You can capitalize on that market, especially if you're in trade league. If you're in solo self-found, you can capitalize on that market for your own benefit to set your league bank up for all the characters that you want to run in SSF. So have fun with it, but have a strategy. Go in knowing what you want to do. Do you want to tackle a league mechanic and spend a lot of time doing it? It's going to take time, it's going to take testing, it's going to take research. But if you go in with that as your goal, then you're going to have a lot more fun and a lot less frustration when things do come up that are frustrating, when things do come up that don't make sense, when you try testing out different things and you're not necessarily getting results, you're able to still push through that and persevere through it because you're having fun and you're still aiming towards your economic strategy for the league, and you're not just whimsically going, well, I hope this prints me a mirror of Calandra while I'm clicking all these buttons. So have an economy strategy as you go in this weekend. Next up, don't let anyone else ruin your fun, or what we are acronymizing? Acronyming? Acrimony? No, that's something else. Alimony? Anyway, what we're calling deliriff. Don't let anyone else ruin your fun, okay? If there's a streamer out there who's playing some build and you're like, oh man, I gotta go play that build, and you play it and you think it stinks, you think it just absolutely smells like donkey buns, then leave it by the wayside. Like, let it just be donkey buns and let somebody else play with it. You don't have to go out and call it donkey buns that somebody else is playing it. You can just go, I don't enjoy this build. It's not really helping me go towards what I want. I'm out of here. Okay, you can do that. If you're having a great time playing a build that someone else thinks is mustard on banana toast, then don't worry about it. It's okay. Let them think that about your build and let you just be frolicking through the wondrous world of Rayclass as you're blowing stuff up and having a great time collecting currency and building the character that you want to build and experiencing the content that you want to experience. Don't let somebody else ruin your fun, whether that's a content creator, whether that's somebody else watching you on stream. I know that there's a lot of streamers who watch as well. If somebody's watching you and they think that your build is just not entertaining them, that's okay. It's okay. Not everybody in the world is going to watch everybody or enjoy everybody else's build. Make sure you enjoy your build. The best way for you to possibly be able to genuinely garner an audience, if you're a streamer, or to be able to garner your own fun if you're just playing on your own for yourself like a normal human being, is to make sure that you're having fun as you're playing. Okay, so don't let somebody else ruin your build. Who cares if you're using Conversion Trap Guardian? Who cares if you're using Poisonous Strike Champion? Who cares if you're playing a Righteous Fire Assassin? If you're having fun, just go for it. Just remember the acronym, don't let anybody else ruin your fun, okay? And that includes balding bearded guys like me. The last thing I'm going to tell you today is make sure to remember during opening weekend to exit to character screen, all right? There's tens of thousands of you who haven't played for years maybe because you've all been hoping and waiting for there to be a currency exchange market and an auction house. There is a currency exchange market. There's no full-on item auction house yet, but we'll see. We'll see. Like, maybe one of the devs will have a really, really tough time trading for a unique item, and maybe it will lead us to that promised land. We're edging there. We're getting close. I want to remind you, throughout the weekend, whether there's patches and hot fixes and all sorts of things, whether there's queues that are longer than my aging beard, okay? If you want to go back into a queue and you want to just be staring at your screen, watching someone else play Path of Exile, click exit to login screen or exit to Path of Exile. If you want to actually just swap between characters or start a character afresh, or you have gotten near a waypoint and you want to go back to town really quick and you don't want to use a portal scroll, click exit to character selection. This will save you time, especially if you've got a computer that's got faster load times to particular zones than taking through the portal scroll for yourself or for your party. So just be aware of that, okay? That is a thing. Use it. Don't log in through the login screen. If you do that, you might go back to queue, you might have a patch, you might have all sorts of things. If you exit Path of Exile completely, again, same thing, just exit back out to the character screen. Hopefully that saves you a few minutes worth of hassle over the weekend. Well, that's enough ranting and raving from the bald bearded guy. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure that before you leave, you drop a comment down below of things that you do to make sure that your league launch goes well. What suggestions do you have for the rest of the community? I am, despite what most of you think of me, not the all-knowing, all-seeing, all-everything about Path of Exile guy. So feel free to share whatever comments, whatever thoughts, whatever suggestions you have down below in the comments. Who knows? Maybe we'll use that in the future as we're passing along tips to the rest of the community. Thanks once again to everybody for your Patreon support, for your YouTube support, for all of your generous tips, and for all your generous PayPal stuff all throughout the years. It is a wonderful, wonderful thing that allows me to be able to do silly things like scream into a camera and chat with you and give you updates about Path of Exile. Just a brief preview and tease about everything that's coming. Yes, we are going to do build meta overviews. Yes, we are going to talk economy. Yes, we are going to talk about the currency exchange platform platform and all of the ins and outs of that. Yes, I am going to play multiple builds over the league. Yes, I'm going to try and stream as much as I can, which probably means about once a week with all of my work that I've got on top of just life and family as well. But anyway, thanks once again so much for watching, and I hope that the upcoming and ongoing and everlasting awesome league that is the Settlers of Kalguur League is the league that 10 Mirrors of Kalandra drop for you.